So this is the 1930 GMT edition of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on the internet under the banner of the Baby Angel Geronimo editions. This is part D, 1930 GMT, Sundays 15th of October 2023. The Khoodeelaar campaign was established in December 2003, initially to defend the community in the East End of London as represented by the phrase Brick Lane area in the London borough of Tower Hamlets. It became quite clear that the campaign to defend the community in the East End of London needed to be expanded to include all of the areas. All of the areas that the then proposed Crossrail Hole plot was going to impact and affect. I've just edited this one, this image of baby angel Geronimo appearing on the top right corner of the screen, which is now just been updated. And the words that I have added read Baby Angel Geronimo editions, Khoodeelaar television channel, Baby Angel Geronimo essay, editor Muhammad Haque, twitter.com/Khoodeelaar, world exclusive original ethical moral movement for justice for baby angel Geronimo. Geronimo the epitome of love, truthfulness, and fairness and compassion. Created, written by Muhammad Haque, 1900 hours GMT, 15th of October 2023. Now, the Khoodeelaar campaign, the word Khoodeelaar is in the Siloti language, and I created that, politicizing it as an equivalent, de facto campaigning, active representation of three facets. Khoodeelaar literally means the identifiable enemies are digging up. That is one, Khoodeelaar. And it also echoes exactly the nearest way that word can echo. Any word can echo in another language. The French cry, Oya, O-Y-E-Z, Oya. So that is the Siloti language equivalent of Oya, the nearest possible translation that could be found, devised, and that is my devising. And the second facet, aspect, and the representation of Khoodeelaar, representation by Khoodeelaar, is that with an exclamation at the end of the word, Khoodeelaar, is that there is no time. It's happening right now. And if we don't stop the diggers, then we are all done for. The area would be sunk. We will be dug out of existence. The paraphrasing of this statement that I made at a meeting later that was held at the Montefiore Center in the Hanbury Street, off Brick Lane. The meeting was held with two staff of the Crossrail plot, well, plan at that time, and it was hosted by K. Jordan for the Spitalfield Small Business Association. And K. Jordan, being a trained architect, was illustrating the various aspects of the alignment of the Crossrail plot and plotted Crossrail line. And during one of the short exchanges, I made a very brief statement at that meeting where I emphasized and emphatically, uniquely, world exclusively announced, declared, impromptu, that we shall not allow, I'm doing the paraphrasing, of course, we shall not allow ourselves to be dug out of existence out of our area by Crossrail. And that is what we actually achieved. We stopped the Crossrail plot. So that was Khoodeelaar. And we intervened immediately, as fast as could be physically done. Now, this is October. Now, October 2004, the year after the conception of the Khoodeelaar campaign by me, I conceived that campaign while walking from Brick Lane towards Bishopsgate and across Bishopsgate into the Liverpool Street bus station, where K. Jordan took a bus home to Kentish Town in Camden. And the conception was, I think it occurred somewhere very near the small lane, an alley in 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 the vicinity of Bishopsgate, called Barbon Alley, Barbon, Barbon Alley. And we were chatting, Kay and I were chatting about the impact on the community of the proposed plot, a hole in Brick Lane. And the most extensive physical damage and destruction that hole would cause would be to properties belonging to the Spitalfield Small Business Association. The Spitalfield Small Business Association would have lost not just literally the buildings and the membership, tenants, etc., but the entire community would additionally incur losses, additional losses, in addition to the properties that the Spitalfield Small Business Association, also known as SSBA, would have lost. Now, how do you monetize? How do you give a measure in currency, in prices terms? I think it would be, if you take the whole area, it would be billions of pounds worth of damages. Now, it fell on me. It really fell on me again. Why do I say again? Because when in 1973, December 1993, the Sunday Times, then not yet owned or controlled by the Dirty Digger Rupert Murdoch, the Sunday Times carried in the color magazine a most offensive, devastating, untruthful, hurtful, racist, incitement, and hateful attack piece aimed at the same community that in 2003 I was faced with defending the Silotis, Siloti speaking Bangladeshis, the Siloti speaking Bangladeshi Muslims that actually made up the whole main profile, main demography of the Bangladeshi community in the east end of London, which remains the same. It fell on me. It fell on me with the help, the only help that I had at that time, at every stage, every letter of the word of defending the community was a relation of mine who was chronologically younger than me, but in terms of the family framework, he was my uncle, one of my uncles, whose nickname was Mona, Mona, Mona. His official name was Nurul Islam, Muhammad Nurul Islam. And he is the one who would bring, on Sundays, he is the one who would bring all the Sunday papers from the shop to me, and we will then go through the papers. The breakfast meeting that took place in 15 New Road, he would bring the newspapers because he knew he had come to the UK before me. And he knew that in Dhaka, in East Pakistan at that time, I would buy all the newspapers of the day. And I remained the same person, probably the only person on the face of the earth who buys all the papers every day, where I can find the physical access. And one of the main questions that are asked by any outlets where I begin visiting, buying the newspapers in the area where I move is, do you really read these papers? Do you really read all these papers? An obvious question, of course. But of course I do. But I don't literally read every single word. Newspapers, as anyone who knows newspapers knows, newspapers don't have original pieces. Most of the stuff that gets printed are not original. Only about 2 or 3% of the contents, if that, can be called original. So, what I do is I read newspapers contextually. I don't read newspapers literally every single word. And the contextual reading of the newspapers by me has been the single most important source of fact based familiarity with the current state of the world with me. Now, I began in the 1950s. I mean, people who don't know Bangladesh, Pakistan in the 1950s, of course, newspapers, even now, even they're now past various phases newspapers have gone through in the last 70 years. Newspapers, first of all, when I started, the newspapers were not bought by me. The family had other members who bought the newspapers, and one of the members had regularly posted from Dhaka the newspapers one day, and the following day the post would arrive. So it was the second day of the date of the paper that the paper would arrive at our family. That was a unique situation in the wide area. Not no one else, no other family had in the within my in a similar experience. So I had early access to physical newspapers. One was Bengali language, Bangla language in Dhaka, and the other is English language. The English one was called the Pakistan Observer. It was daily Pakistan Observer. And the Bangla one was called Azad, Daily Azad, Independence, that had been founded in Calcutta before the 1947 events by Maulana Akram Khan. So the newspapers, access to newspapers, the two began, and then the other newspapers expanded. As I became as soon as I started understanding the news presentation and the contents and the context, which wasn't representative of the ordinary conversation that took place in the home or in the village or in the surrounding area. It was a completely new experience and approach, altogether different. I got inducted into a new approach literally. And my education, real education about the world, I must say, depended very much on my access to the daily newspapers rather than any textbook as such. Although textbooks I had already come into contact with, and the textbooks were very limiting and in a different way, written in a different way. So, newspapers, not only newspapers covering the local domestic state, I then expanded into newspapers coming from other states and regions, obviously, mainly Europeans. Although I was in Asia, I got access to European newspapers, mainly the UK newspapers, and internationally beyond the UK, the most important accessible news magazines were the two Time and Newsweek. So you can imagine I began very early on reading the most up to date publications in the world. Even now, they remain the most up to date, even now. In terms of magazines, the Time and the Newsweek remain two of the most outstanding publications. And one of my family members pointed out while reading one of the two magazines, Time and Newsweek, he said, "Can you believe this? Reading these papers, you cannot find one single spelling error," which is a remarkable comment to make. And that was made in the 1950s to me by one of my uncles. I mean, he was just himself. I didn't sort of really learn anything from him. In fact, I was very independent minded, and I found him lacking. Although he went on to become a senior government bureaucrat, etc., etc. A thing that other people would be very proud of. I'm not remotely interested in relating myself to any member of the family in that way. But he was a literate man, and he remarkably made that very astute comment. And that he said about the Reader's Digest. Now, Reader's Digest was the third publication that magazine, periodical, that all these periodicals were American. And again, Reader's Digest had features that I couldn't find in local papers or local kind of, there was no local equivalent. Why I'm saying all this? Because reading newspapers has been like my daily kind of taking the air. It's more frequent than taking food. So I have been eating newspapers and news contents, and I've been digesting them for decades, which means that if I know about an event, I know it better than anybody else that can be found anywhere. And that has been my position. So when I read newspapers today, and for this program, when I say they are scum, they are crooks, criminals, I don't say this because I have no other linguistic phrases to use. I really do think that factually, these people, for example, the ones that I name and shame, are really lacking. There is no newspaper in the United Kingdom, let's say, for example, today. Or if we cross the Atlantic and go over to New York, NY, say the New York Times or the Washington Post. I mean, except the one single breaking event. The breaking event was, of course, the two journalists breaking the event about the Watergate scandal, the bugging incident. Apart from that breaking event, I don't think the Washington Post has broken anything of any significance at all. Whether it's owned by Catherine or Jeff Bezos, it doesn't matter. It's the journalists, the real journalists. Well, the actual journalists are very rare on a staff of any outlet. And the same case with the French one. I mean, I'm not fluent in French, but contextually reading the Le Monde, it's not. I mean, my word for Le Monde is that it's very timid. I wouldn't call it stupid, but it's timid. I mean, on the border or bordering on stupidity. Why am I saying this? Because given the propaganda value, the propaganda kind of, how shall I say, weight that have been built into the image of the Le Monde. Le Monde, of course, the word. It has a lot more responsibility to break stories and make breaking comments. It doesn't. And that is because the politics of the people that are in control of the kind of role of the Le Monde, the politics is absolutely corrupting and corrupt. And these journalists do a disservice to the statement, to the slogan, to the claim that newspapers are expressions of free speech. They are not. They should be, they could be, but they are not. Then I go to India, and I go to India intellectually because numerically India has the largest number of newspapers and magazines in the subcontinent, of course, in all of Asia, I suppose, because China is not as diverse as India by any means in terms of the availability and access of publications. But then I am disappointed. I am instantly reminded of the corrupt stench called R.K. Karanzia. Karanzia is the shitbag that worshipped the corrupt, crooked Indira Priyadarshini Gandhi every turn, every minute, every morning. That Karanjia is a shitbag of Iranian origin, Parsi, who became loathsomely obedient to Indira Gandhi with his corrupt outlet that he published. and he praised Indira Gandhi beyond tolerance. And as David Selborne is a former radical British intellectual who was resident in India for a long time. Selborne has degenerated, of course, into the racist that he originally was and has been. But Selborne, he wrote the kind of rare collection of pieces about Indira Gandhi's corruption through the looking glass or something. And he made some pertinent points of observation, but he didn't come anywhere near telling the truth. Not in a way that I have understood India, and I have understood India better than anybody else, going about newspapers, that is. Because the departure of the British founders of the, let's say, English language titles in 1947, in August 1947, should have ended the British imperialist kind of dominance at the expense of local democracy and autonomy. But it didn't. Even now, today, 2023, the India based English language and British founded publications are shameless and shamefully, disgracefully subservient to the main cultural ethos and narratives left behind by the British. What a disgrace! Taking these columns published by the Times of India, the Indian Express, and the Hindu. Hindu, despite the name Hindu, is not really a Hindutva based paper. It is quite different in fact. So the Hindu I used to regard kind of, I gave it more credit than I gave the Times of India or the Indian Express. But the Hindu has degenerated even worse. So the editorial pieces that they run in the English language ones in India are disgraceful, stupid, timid, ignorant, and they kind of echo the styles of the British founders and British predecessors. Now, the British predecessors, founders, etc., did not break a single story. They were absolutely corrupt. And so they are corrupt at the Times today, as the Sunday Times today, as they are corrupted Guardian, they're corrupted the stinking legacy left by Beaverbrook, the Canadian racist, who had a lot to do with the Daily Express. It is as stinking now as it was when Beaverbrook was around. And the Daily Mail is sick. And the scum, controlled by Dirty Digger Murdoch, the, the scum is morally absolutely bankrupt. And the newspaper, which controlled by the Daily Mail, I mean, it is so shocking to find that it pretends that it is really independent. It's not. And it is craftily edited, sub-edited, etc., by a bunch of criminals who think that they are hiding their Daily Mail propensities. So in the United Kingdom, the printed British newspapers are absent in terms of breaking news, original news, which is the main explanation in the last 50 years, the main explanation for the degenerate state of the British Parliament and the British government is the degenerate state of the British press and the prostitute state of the British judiciary. I mean, as I say, in 1973, I was offered the opportunity to become a barrister in 1973, but I avoided that. Why did I do that? Because I had a row with the woman that was in charge of the Lincoln's Inn where I was having the row. And she accused me of having written something which I had not done in one of the letters that I sent to her. That racist cunt was called Barbara Bates. And I take exception always to being accused of doing something that I don't do, and I haven't done, and I cannot do, I won't do. And she was accusing me, in fact, of lying, which I didn't do. And I noticed that if this equation or this kind of connection or relationship continued, because if I became a member of the licensed law trading barristers bar organization, then I would be liable to abide by what the Lincoln's Inn kind of bureaucracy created. Just as I said no to the job at the civil service that I was offered, because I wasn't guilty of anything, but I was subject to an intrusive question by a recruiting officer in the civil service in 1977, and I said no. Although my saying no left the suggestion open that I might have been responsible for something that I really wasn't. But this woman who was interviewing me praised me for being thankful, for being so frank and honest in my conversation, which I note and which I am grateful for because I'm still remembering that, which is a rare kind of conversation from a very powerful member of the civil service, which is not known for telling the truth. If the behavior of the ugly Petard or the Suella Cruella Fernandez Home Office is anything to go by, not to speak about the DWP, deprivation, degeneration, want, and poverty creation. DWP. The permanent secretary at the DWP, or at least one of the recent permanent secretaries, has been one of the criminals that I had the experience of communicating with while he was a lower ranking employee. These people are disgraceful in their dishonesty. The entire British home bureaucracy is corrupt, and you cannot escape this, which is why I keep doing the kind of campaigning activity that I do. That is to keep myself above these criminals and the stench that they create of lying to the people. My pointing this out is the least I could do for my own ethical and moral health. So why I say that these people are corrupt? Exclude. I don't exclude the Communist Party, Morning Star, The communist car is currently controlled by a stupid boy called Jaco, Ben Jaco, Chaco, or Paco. How can an outlet called communist be so stupid? Because if communism has any kind of origin, it has to go to Karl Marx and his writings and his thoughts and analysis. And if Karl Marx is to be given credit for anything, it is for the analysis of this corrupt society that he made. And if you read the Morning Star, it is full of lies, distortions, and deviations, and moral stupidity and emptiness. During the so called Labour Party conference, fronted by this criminal, political murderer of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, this Ban Faco staged a complete, absolute, stupid, depraved timidity act right at the height of the Zionist state attacking the people and state of Palestine. I mean, there is no excuse. This kind of engagement that has been going on in the last 8 days between the Palestinians and the Zionist state is, as the Zionist state's propagandists have been saying, the worst thing that has happened to the Zionist state in the last 50 years. I mean, the most significant thing also that has happened in that or has become obvious is that whatever the Palestinian forces were, if you like, planning, of course, we didn't know anything, but nor did Mossad. Now, remember Mossad? Mossad has been hyped over the last 50 years as being the most intelligent spying outfit and sabotage outfit. How the fuck did Mossad didn't know what Hamas was planning? How the fuck? When in the wake of the 1967 attack by the Zionists on the Palestinian people, they significantly deployed almost naked women, naked white European women, to scare the life out of the hell out of the Palestinians who were not used to looking at naked women on a public display. But here was an exhibition. It was an assault, carefully calculated assault to deploy naked women to divert the Palestinians out of their minds, blow them out of their heads and minds. When they did that, it shocked not only the Palestinians but the whole world that was exposed to the same displays by photographs and images. That was a shock, but it was a completely different shock. Now, what the Hamas people did was truly, I mean, it has to be accepted. I have no position about these kind of atrocities that have been committed, absolutely, except to say that I don't believe in war. I don't really believe in war in that way. That is the whole point of me. But tactically, in terms of combat, military combat, I mean, how much better could they be? Because they have been in planning for more than 2 years or more or longer before they mounted the actual operation 8 days ago. I mean, they must have spent thousands of hours and produced any length of footage or records. And Mossad fucked it up. Mossad missed all of it. How the fuck did they do that? Because when them, as I said, when they kind of took the women's clothes off and exposed them to shock the Palestinians by shocking them to their physical kind of allure, they must have thought that the Palestinians were more than stupid. I mean, if that is the tactic, I mean, how can you condemn them enough? They must have underestimated the intelligence of the Palestinians beyond description. Mossad was asleep. Mossad must have been asleep, and Netanyahu, what was he up to? I mean, the Guardian banned the Steve Bell cartoon, which correctly depicted Netanyahu in a most embarrassingly acute way in the cartoon, showing Netanyahu as an absolute idiot. I mean, is that the best that the Guardian could do? The Zionist paper, the Zionist editor, could do for the cause of the Zionist state? Banning Steve Bell? Now, banning Steve Bell has got him more attention than not banning him. That is counterproductive, isn't it? And the Catherine Vanity, the editor of The Guardian, the corrupt editor, the greedy editor of The Guardian, who is married to the crook Adrian fucking Childs. Fuck him. I mean, how dare she steal the money that readers contribute to the Guardian in response, in good faith, responding to the pleas that without the money, the Guardian would not exist. She gets the money, people do pay the money, and then she pockets £500,000 on the record. I mean, how do you begin to condemn Catherine Vanity, the stupid thief? She has stolen the money. You never know how many people who are paying the donation or contribution to the Guardian, how many of them are doing that by depriving themselves of a meal because they are so honestly dedicated to the cause of a good newspaper. I mean, they believe in the cause, not that the Guardian is a good newspaper, but they believe in the hype. It is not easy to donate money when you don't know the circumstances of these people who are donating the money. And the Guardian, every piece, end of the piece, it says the Guardian is skint or it needs the money for good journalism, which is fine. These people believe that. Then how dare Catherine Vanity, the cunt, steal that money? She doesn't give the money to the really hardworking sources. They are not the byline holders only. There are real, genuine sources that really still believe in good journalism, in the cause of good journalism, and they make contracts, make sacrifices to make the information available to the Guardian. The Guardian suppresses most of the truth most of the times, but sometimes it doesn't suppress everything. So Catherine Vanity is guilty and she needs the sacking. And the embarrassment called Adrian Childs. What the fuck? This fucking over bloated shit. Who wants to read anything he has to say about anything? He doesn't have anything to say. So these papers, the Guardian is supposed to be the kind of decent kind of exception to the type that the British is lying for the liars. The Guardian doesn't contain information, doesn't run information stories about the wrongdoings of Keir Starmer, the wrongdoings of his co-criminals, Rachel Reeves, and co-criminals Wes Streeting. Since this particular broadcast began. So let's check how far we can actually conclude. How far we go before we conclude this particular edition. Now, the Morning Scar weekend edition, which I collected from Whitechapel yesterday, which is dated the 14th and 15th of October, has got the main word. It is supposed to be the heavy duty word calamitous. Fuck Ben Facco. What calamitous, you shit? It was genocide of the babies and people in Gaza by the Zionist state. It's not fucking calamitous, you shit. When the before the kind of Zionist bureaucracy in the Labour Party got hold of the machine and started to expel people for daring to condemn the Zionist state, the Communist Morning Scar used to have both Jeremy Corbyn, Ken Lying Still Livingston, and George the Git Galloway as columnists. Now, if anyone had actually the time to read these three morons, they would find that they are absolute empty. Neither can Lionel Livingston, nor Jeremy Corbyn, nor George the Git Galloway ever produced one single accurate warning about any aspect of the impact of the policies of the UK state that they were allegedly writing about in any particular kind of piece. I mean, when I first broadcast on a radio program a commendation, the first time I commented on anything that Jeremy Corbyn had actually been associated with, I put a kind of positive comment on the piece that had been published by the Communist Morning Scar on that day, the day that I did that broadcast on Thursday, if memory serves, Thursday, the 20th of September 2012. Was it that year? I'll have to check, but I think that is the year. That is the correct year. Was it 2012? But the day was 20th of September. And the topic of the piece, byline to Jeremy Corbyn in the Morning Scar. Hello? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. Hello. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, I'm coming.
Well, you knocked on my door and you were on the telephone. What's the matter?
Just back. Lou, I'm just coming to you. What, 2 minutes?
Come on, man, talk to me. You are interrupting something.
Sorry.
I'm in the middle of.
Yeah, he wants to, if you can tune this in through.
What?
He wants you to tune this in if you can. See the phone.
Explain to me what you're saying.
Tell him.
No, just put the internet.
Internet onto the phone. Can you do that?
Say it slowly again.
Okay, you do it.
Please, you know, I want to just want that movie, if you can, like, to set up the internet.
Yeah.
To us. The Wi-Fi, something like that.
Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi, yes.
You go and get a piece of paper and pen.
Yeah, this one.
I can't write,
Yeah, they give me, but I don't know how to do it.
but I can't use the
Oh, yeah.
hands. I mean, I have to explain it to you. Show me where the thing is.
The setting.
All right. Well, let me just have a look. I can look. Not can I hold it? So where is the English language? This is
Oh, is it French?
yes, that's right.
You can do setting. This is setting.
All right. Isn't there anyone in the office?
No, because later on I was doing the mic, but you can't do it. He was busy. So he told me to find someone to do it for me.
I'm just checking where to put the.
In English.
What is the English thing then?
I don't know, seriously.
You know?
This guy put
This
this
is
guy,
not in English.
I know it's confusing. I'm telling you.
Because if it is English, then I can put the.
Yeah.
No, this is nothing to do with that. The connection is not there.
Setting.
Have you got a white piece of white piece of paper and a pen? Go and get that and come back.
Okay, thank you.
So that because I can't use my hand, you
It's
know.
fine. 1 minute.
This broadcast is being interrupted by somebody who needs help in getting So I'm interrupted against my get a piece of paper. Internet. What I was saying to be revisited because I have lost the door, and it will be repeated when I get hold of the transcript later, not later today, but later, maybe tomorrow. Hold on, hold on. So if you write the spelling, have they given you the password?
Yeah,
What does it read? Universal one. That is the password. And the name of the what is the name of the account? Well, that is the password to something. Haven't they given another one? Just check. Hold on, I'll get it. Hold on. It's a password to something. ELAN 0006. So that's all right. Like EL, right in the white paper, yeah? EL A again N. N for no one, yeah? Ella, yeah? And let me just check in case I got the spelling right. Let me just check it. So EL AN 0006. Okay. Now there is one A, not two.
One N.
No, one A.
So one A.
Cross that one out, yeah. And then after that, 00006. Yeah. So that's the that is the name of the account to which that is the password.
Okay.
Wi-Fi. That is the Wi-Fi account you need.
Wi-Fi account.
That is the name of the account, Wi-Fi that you need. Yeah.
Okay.
That is ELAN 0006.
No, this one.
That is the password. That is the name of the Wi-Fi account, and that is the password to get hold of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let me try it. So I'm gonna go to the Google and
Yes.
I type.
Not Google. Where is the phone? Because I don't read the French, so I cannot. Hold on. Not where. Where are the settings? That is the Wi-Fi, okay? That's the Wi-Fi, and that should be the name here. That is the one. Yeah. The one that is appearing there. Like go back. See, ELAN 006.
Yes.
I gave you that one, and that is the name of the account, and the password. That is the password. Yeah, yeah. It's a password has to be written. There is right on universal 1234.
What?
There, right. I mean, I can't write, so you put that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Now universal,
universe. Universal.
SAL, and then 1234.
Separate.
No. Immediately
1, 2,
3, 4, and then press. Yeah. You see, active. It's connected now.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you so much. God bless. So now I'm happy now.
Okay. Now go on, enjoy it.
Thank
Yeah?
you. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's done. I have hopefully helped this man get onto the internet. And so what I was talking about essentially was the headline on the front page of the weekend edition of the British Communist Party Morning Star. Now, the Morning Star is actually, the name is Star, but I call it Scar because it distorts the truth. That's why I call it the Star. I call the Scar instead of the Star. Now, there is a piece in the Morning 3 of the weekend edition headed "Councillors resign from Labour over leader's remarks. Starmer's support for Israeli siege." That's the subject. And it says Labour councillors and young Labour's Black, Asian, and minority ethnic officer have quit their posts over party leader Sir Keir Starmer's appalling comments on Israel's treatment of Gaza. Now, this complete fucking shitbag who supposedly edits this idiotic paper, what does he mean? What the fuck does he mean by Israel's treatment of Gaza? You don't call genocide treatment. You fucking shit. There's a picture of the moron Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, and speaking to the to medical aid for Palestinians chief executive officer Melanie Ward during the London mayor's visit to the aid charities offices yesterday. Now, Sadiq Khan has got himself surrounded, absolutely surrounded by one particular section of the demography. Youngish white women. This shitbag, the supposed mayor at the expense of London, is a complete and he has not done anything that he has held since 2016, really not done anything in terms of democracy, in terms of accountability, in terms of transparency and justice. And the shitbag is a complete crook. When he was appointed the first time, when he used to be an MP, he got a minor job in the administration given to him by the racist Gordon Brown, who succeeded the racist liar criminal, mass murderer Liar, as Prime Minister for a short while. One of the first things that Sadiq Khan, the shitbag, said was an attack on Muslims. This shitbag said that Muslims had a chip on their shoulders. The most racist description given by racists against people complain against racism. I mean, where do we begin to condemn Sadiq Khan? Where do we begin to list the wrongs and failures and unfitnesses for purpose of Sadiq the shit? And then when he got elected in 2016 in the post of mayor at the expense of London, where did he get himself inaugurated? The swearing in ceremony was held in a church, in the cathedral, the shit. Why did he do that in a religious place, which by definition was for one religion, which was not the religion of the Londoners? It was not a religious post. The mayor of London is not a religious post. So why did he go to a cathedral? He could have held in a non-religious place. There are so many non-religious places, platforms in London. So what he was doing was kind of showing his allegiance to the Southwark Cathedral and the Anglican Church. There is a piece on page 7 of the same edition of the Morning Star. Israel forces 1 million Palestinians to flee. Now that should have been on the front page instead of the calamitous. And then there is this piece by somebody called Vijay Prasad. Sounds like an Indian name. And the heading says, Israel's war on Gaza started a long time ago now. Is that a news? Is that supposed to be a news? And the Morning Star editorial says that this is the time for peacemaking between the Zionist state and the Palestinians. And environments can work together. We shall end this one because mainly because of the interruption that took the particular flow away from that point of interruption onwards. So, shall be continuing on the remaining updates in due course.